Hi, this is Jody from Puppywinkle, and last week I talked about all the things I do to signatures before I sew them into the journal. And this week I'm going to show you how I made this journal from those signatures I made. So here are my signatures. I'm going to show you now how to make this awesome cover that I figured out. So the first thing I did was I got a piece of paper bag. Heavy, it's the heavy kind, not, sometimes you get those thin ones. No, this is the heavy paper bag. And I cut it, I don't know if you can see, just a little bigger on top and bottom than the signatures. I don't think you can really see that, but maybe 1/8 of an inch at the top and the bottom on either side extra. And then lengthwise, I wanted it to be able to fold over and fold over like that and overlap. So that's what I'm going for. So whatever length that is, and it's loose because, like I said, we're gonna add things in there to make it wider. So I didn't pull it super tight. So I was giving myself some wiggle room as far as the width goes. So I cut that out. Then I cut out a second one, same exact size. So then I got a piece of fabric I liked, and I cut it so that I can fold the edges around. So I cut it maybe a 1/2 inch bigger on all the sides, and I trimmed the edges so there's no extra bulk. And then I covered it with self-adhesive interfacing, so iron-on interfacing. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some spray adhesive. This is like old stuff I had. And it says it's good for fabric and it's permanent. And it's also good for paper. So I used the spray glue on the interfacing side of the fabric. So on this side, I sprayed the whole thing with that glue pretty heavily, and it's okay because the interfacing keeps it from seeping through the fabric and wrinkling it all up and getting all weird. So I soaked it pretty well, and enough that I can pull these edges up. I left one down just so I can show you. And then I put after I sprayed the whole thing with glue, I put the piece of paper bag that I cut in the center of it, and then I folded up my edges. And so this one edge, the glue's probably pretty dry now, so I'm just going to use some wood glue. Probably white glue would work too. And just fold this one last edge up. And I think I mentioned I had cut the corners off, so there's not a lot of bulk. So there we have this, the beginnings of a fabulous cover. And one thing I want to check before I go any further is that, yeah, that the top, that both sides are similar. Like I don't want one edge to be way bigger than the other, because they're gonna meet eventually, and I want them to be the same width, which they are, so that's cool. But just check that out before you go any further. Okay, so then after that's all down, this is where it gets a little weird, but I figured a fix. So now I want to cover the whole thing with another piece of paper bag, same size as the first one. and I wasn't sure if that spray glue was going to work. It did work for here because it was pretty wrinkle free. But I probably should try that to see if that works. But what I did the first time, and I totally rocked it, was I used this wood glue. Terrified as I was, because I knew it was going to wrinkle up. So anyway, let's do it. Wood glue all around. Okay, so I have the wood glue all spread out. I smoothed it out as best I could. I paid special attention to the fabric edges because I want this piece of paper to really stick. I'm going to stick it right down in the center best I can. And then just smooth it out. And these corners don't have to be perfect because I covered them with a corner protector. Okay, so here this is. Pretty, that's a little over there. Is that all right? Yeah, I think that's all right. That's all right. It's not really over, it's just to the edge. And see here, as it dries, it's starting to wrinkle, which I don't like. So, right now, before it dries, I'm going to go iron it. I have my iron set up. It's going to be at cotton setting because this is cotton fabric. The glue is not yet dry, and I'm going to iron this baby because it gets way more wrinkled than this. If you let it go, that might look acceptable, but it's not, and it's going to get worse. So I'll be right back. So here's our journal cover, all ironed, smooth on the fabric side, and ta-da, smooth on the paper side. I was so excited when I figured out that ironing takes care of all those wrinkles. One thing I need to say though, neither of the glues I used said don't use near heat. I know some glues will say keep away from heat, so obviously you don't want to be ironing that kind of glue. So pay attention to what you're using. So for the last little thing here, I wanted to put on little corner protectors just to make sure that all my edges were smooth and didn't come unraveled. So I put a little bit of glue down just in the corner. I'm going to do it on all four sides. I push it flush to the one edge and just give it a little squeeze. It does not need as much squeeze as I think it does. Then I just take a baby wipe, get rid of the extra glue. And then this one seems a little crooked, so I'm just going to push it down, kind of bend it in before I squeeze this one shut. There you go. So do that on all four corners. And then you have your finished journal cover. So next thing I did was I put my 3 signatures in. And again, these aren't stuffed full. They have a few little things, pockets and things, but they don't have tags and a lot of stuff that I'm going to end up putting in them. So I wanted to give them extra space for the journal to expand. So I'm going to put it here and just see how I want it to be. And I already have the tabs on, so I left room for this. If you're making this and have not yet put tabs on but you want to, make sure to leave extra room for this to cover the tabs. And so that's about where I want it. And so there are my 3 signatures, and I want to mark the center here because I want to know where I'm going to put my middle signature in, because that's the one I'm going to start with first. So I just when I was holding this earlier, I put a little piece of pencil right there where it was, and then I drew a line from top to bottom. And I lined it up. I lined it up to make sure it was equidistant from each edge. So this line is parallel to this edge. And so now I want to sew in my first signature. I'm going to sew in the center signature. Okay, here's my middle signature, and I clipped the pages together so they don't shift around. I made sure that the folds were all exactly lined up. And now I make sure that this is the top of my signature, which it is. And then I'm thinking about, is this the top of my journal? Yes, it is, because I want it to go this way. So you don't want to be sewing anything in upside down. Here's the line I made. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there it is for the middle signature. I'm going to line the line up with the center of this signature. And then I'm just going to clip this all together. Get out my awl. I'm going to go right down the center, not measuring because I'm only going to make 3 holes. And I don't think I need to measure. And again, be careful what you use on the bottom, because this is very sharp and it's going to damage whatever it is. This is my messy mat, so I'm okay with damaging it because it's been damaged before. So I'm just going to make 3 holes right down this center, 1 in the middle and 1 maybe an inch away from the top and the bottom. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you like. And they're going all the way through. Now I already pre-threaded my needle because that can take forever. And it's 1, 2, 3. It's actually, mine's like 4. That's plenty. 4 lengths of my book. I'm going to go in this way because I want to have the edges dangling down in the center. Not everybody likes to do that, but that's how I'm doing this one. So I'm going to go out through there, in through here on the outside, not pulling it all the way through, out through the bottom, and then in through the center. And how do I don't want to go through that little thread there. I want to come out this way, yeah. And so I'm going to put a piece of thread on either side of that and just tie a knot. And see how much thread I have left over? Like way plenty. I used way too much. I was getting nervous I'm not going to have enough. So I'm going to, I have 1 signature sewn in. I'm going to make a line probably a half, maybe not quite a whole ½ inch on either side, and sew in the other signatures exactly the same way. The more space you leave in between, the more space you're going to have to put goodies in here. So it'll probably be close to a ½ inch. You don't want to make it so fat that you can't close your book. But yeah, I have room between a ½ and a ¼ inch. So I'll be back. So I've sewn the 3 signatures in, and this is what it looks like in the center after the thread comes through. And I just left that hanging. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Sometimes I just tie it in a little bow here, and the other times I'll attach something down here as a dangle. But that comes with the decorating part. So I'll think about that then, which is now almost time to decorate. That's the best part. And so this is what it looks like in between the signatures. You see the back cover in between, and I left plenty of room for lots of goodies and fun decorating in there. And the front, I put 2 buttons on. I sewed them on, and here you can see where I sewed it, and I'm going to cover it up with a little dot just like I did here. There's a little circle there that I glued on to cover the sewing because I don't like that. Now I'll probably put a book plate or something up here, but this one I'm definitely going to put a dot on to cover that little sewing bit. And here's what the signatures look like. And that is it. So now I can get to the fun decorating part. Thanks for watching.